Welcome back to our channel, where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. Today we bring you some news: Bombshell William's quiet revolution, Anne and Edward in Camilla out. In the quiet and golden halls of authority, where whispers have more weight than proclamations, a senior royal once let escape a comment that, although being short, sent a chill shudder through the body of the household. Directed at the then Prince of Wales, the pointed comment laid bare the unspoken hierarchy. "You're not the king." The voice allegedly stated, "You're simply the Queen's husband." This sharp, almost casual observation revealed a deeper tension, a subtle current of unease stirring just beneath the polished surface of Buckingham Palace. Currently, that current has broken through the surface. It has been claimed that Prince William, the Prince of Wales, has launched a significant and unprecedented strategic change inside the monarchy. This action has left royal watchers in a condition of great emotional pain, and it has also placed King Charles III and Queen Camilla in a state of shock. Through the very roots of the House of Windsor, the decision, which was given with a calm determination during a big Commonwealth ceremony, echoed throughout the whole establishment. An act that challenges the fundamental principles of royal authority and heralds the beginning of a new age that may be more fragile than the one that just came into being. It was a move that was not born of a spontaneous impulse, but rather of considerable thought. What was the impetus behind the heir apparent to the throne taking such a courageous step? What are the factors that have come together to create this one action so strong that it has the ability to put a queen in the background and reimagine the reign of a king? The tale starts not with a resounding explosion, but rather with a deliberate and nearly unnoticeable shift in the direction of events. Unsettling calm for an entire day. The beginning of everything began on a morning in London that seemed to be quite typical at first glance. When Buckingham Palace opened its doors to welcome renowned visitors from all over the Commonwealth, the weather was balmy, the sunshine was kind, and the gates were as wide as they could possibly be. It was as dazzling and faultless as every other sight that had come before it, and the air was filled with the delicious perfume of white flowers, which is a hallmark aroma of royal gatherings. The palace, which was standing tall and majestic, was getting ready for another magnificent occasion by waving flags in the wind and getting photographers ready to take pictures of events that would be recorded for the history record. In quiet tones, guests mingled with one another, their expectations centered on the customary grace and elegance that the royal family has been expected to give for a very long time. However, it was impossible to deny that there was a discernible change in the mood inside those sacred halls. The atmosphere was dense with anxiety and an unsettling quietness, as if the institution was holding its collective breath. It was not in the decorations nor in the guest list. Rather, it was in the very air itself. When they were working, the personnel at the palace, who were experts in secrecy, raced through their chores with an abnormal stiffness, and their eyes often wandered toward one person, Prince William. An unanticipated request, an item that was not on the official agenda, and a departure from etiquette that was so significant that no one could yet fathom its ramifications, were all things that he brought with him when he arrived. Charles William's father and Camilla his mother were not among the people who William wanted to consult with. He only requested a bit of privacy in which he could speak to the visitors who had gathered there. The aides who spoke on the condition of anonymity said that he gave the organizers the assurance that it would be just a few words and that it would not be anything official. However, anybody who is acquainted with the rigorous choreography of a high-profile royal event is aware that there is no such thing as just a few words. Each and every speech is painstakingly written, and each and every phrase is reviewed and approved by a phalanx of advisors. Each and every deviation from the script, no matter how little, is a meaningful gesture that has profound meanings. William's desire to stand alone without a written text was a courageous and uncommon symbolic gesture. It was an act that said volumes before he had even spoken a single sentence. There was an unnerving quiet that pervaded the big hall as the Prince of Wales approached the dais. Even the personnel of the palace, who are generally quite good at hiding their feelings beneath a stern mask, were unable to disguise their pain. William himself gave off the impression of being calm, yet it was exactly that feeling of calmness that caused everyone to feel uneasy. In his eyes there was an unyielding resolve. In his stance and tone, there was a gravity that reminded those who were looking at him of someone who would be in their memories forever, his mother, Princess Diana. Diana was the one who had once confronted the monarchy with an unwavering honesty and a strength that sprang from a place of profound belief. It was at that very time that William got the impression that he had not only inherited her inheritance, but also her unconquerable spirit, which was the exact soul of the lady whom he had always admired. This is a proclamation of a new order. At that point, he started talking. His tone was calm and steady, and there was no indication of rage or hurry in his voice. Every single phrase, however, bore a significant weight, much like a calm storm that was gradually developing. First, he reflected on the long and illustrious history of the crown, including its deeply ingrained customs, its honor, and the enormous duties that came along with it. An institution is a symbol that transcends the present and resonates through the centuries, and this inaugural homage to the past served as a profound reminder to all those present of the institution's ongoing importance. However, he quickly changed his tone and transferred his attention to a new topic that was far more important change. This was not a theoretical idea for some unspecified time in the future. Rather, it was a real and immediate transformative event. It was highlighted by him that the crown could no longer continue to be an institution that existed above the people. Rather, it must walk with them not just in big ceremonies, but also in every critical choice that has an influence on their lives. Then the news was made, which caused the audience to be filled with a profound and introspective stillness. The new strategic framework for the royal family was presented by Prince William. This framework advocated for more collaboration and shared accountability among the top members of the working staff of the royal family. He claimed that the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, Prince Edward, and his wife Sophie, as well as his own wife Catherine, the Princess of Wales, would be taking on greatly enlarged duties, becoming more intimately engaged in leadership and public representation. He also stated that the Duchess of Edinburgh would be taking on a position that was significantly extended. A system that was more collaborative, adaptive, and modern was officially replacing the previous model, which had for centuries concentrated power in the hands of a single sovereign. This new structure was being formalized as the replacement. Nevertheless, this change was not just about dispersing responsibilities. Additionally, William publicly accepted a new position for himself, which he declared was supported by the full support and approval of King Charles. These words were spoken by William. His obligations would effectively bear the weight and power of a regent, despite the fact that he was not recognized as a regent in any formal capacity. He would start representing the crown in high-level meetings with foreign leaders, embarking on important diplomatic trips, and making crucial choices in the public domain. All of these activities would take place simultaneously. He was transitioning from being just a prince-in-waiting to being a de facto leader, which meant that he had powers that were clearly defined and urgent responsibilities. Despite the fact that it was given in a subtle manner, the alteration hit with the power of a thunderclap. A few of the individuals in the room were taken aback, and their facial expressions exhibited a combination of astonishment and uncertainty. A distinct feeling of relief was sensed by others, and there was a hushed acceptance that long overdue measures were finally being put into action. However, the most shocking feature of the proclamation was not what was stated, but rather what was not mentioned inside the declaration. A single reference of Queen Camilla was made during the whole of the speech, and there was not a single mention of her at any point. This absence was more powerful than any words could ever accomplish. In this fresh and contemporary conception of the monarchy, Queen Camilla was unequivocally removed from the framework. Whether it was because of her own free will or because William had planned it out, she had no place in the future that he was describing. The hush that followed the speech was deep, and it lingered in the air like a decision that had not been expressly spoken. It was merely a somber communal processing of the seismic message that had just been conveyed, and there was no applause among the audience members. The fall of the Queen and the crisis that befell the monarchy. The attention of the gathering moved to Queen Camilla as the weight of William's statement began to settle. Her stepson had begun to talk, and she had first sat in an upright position, maintaining a stance that was attentive and collected. However, as the minutes passed and the full implications of her absence grew more obvious, it became evident that there were palpable symptoms of disquiet around the room. She tightened her hold on the event program that was sitting on her lap. Her eyes, which had been fixated on William, started to wander about the room in an impatient manner. The color left her skin, and her breath became shallower. Her complexion became paler. After that, she sat back in her chair and leaned forward without making a sound. The fall was nearly elegant, and occurred without any sound, but the effect it had was quick and chaotic. At the same time that King Charles sprang to his feet, his voice trembling as he screamed out her name, medical personnel hurried to her side. His face was covered with a bewildered expression. The room became completely still in disbelief. All of the stressful moments were filmed by cameras that were still rolling. A feeling of catastrophe began to permeate the atmosphere, despite the fact that there was no obvious sign of fear. On a day that was supposed to be a serious and meaningful occasion, the Queen Consort had to be led out of the hall in a prompt and discreet manner. As a result of the catastrophe, the palace's damage control operations began. There was a constant ringing of phones as the press corps, which was aware of a story of enormous proportions, became more and more anxious with each passing minute. Royal advisors were sealed in a secret chamber, engaged in heated conversations, and striving to come up with a solution to the situation. What were the circumstances that led to the Queen being excluded from the future that Prince William had just described in such a clear and transparent manner? There was a growing sense of unease among the members of the royal circle. It was speculated that Charles had been informed of his son's plans, but that he had perhaps not anticipated that William would have the guts to carry out such a public maneuver. These rumors were spreading like wildfire among the staff of the palace. There were rumors that the king, who had been weakened by his own recent health issues, had given in and agreed to the decision. He believed that his son's decisiveness was a necessary evil in order to ensure the continuation of the monarchy. In spite of the fact that the secret maneuverings were taking place, the public outcome was quite clear. The royal family was suddenly confronted not just with heavy media scrutiny, but also with severe internal difficulties. It is unclear if William's decision to exclude Camilla was a result of an unintended blunder or a deliberate and planned choice. Commentators on the royal family were split. In order to modernize the monarchy and disassociate it from the more problematic elements of his father's background, some people thought it was a clever decision to change the monarchy. A great many of people, on the other hand, saw it as a gesture that was cold, contemptuous, and even vicious. It was a gesture that wounded deeply and brought up unsettling issues about the future of the institution. It was universally acknowledged that the incident had a significant and lasting influence. It was notable that Camilla was not there for the speech that was essential. Nonetheless, the fact that she was almost entirely excluded from the future that William envisioned was a message that was obvious and unmistakable. An immediate result was that the previously flawless front of the palace began to show signs of cracks. This was a visual manifestation of the damage. This was not only a question of public opinion, rather it was a manifestation of the growing rifts that existed within the royal family itself. On the one hand, there are those who staunchly adhere to the traditional order that is exemplified by King Charles and Queen Camilla. On the other hand, there is a rising number of followers who believe that William and Catherine are the only realistic road ahead for the monarchy. The specter of Diana brings with it the burden of a legacy. It is necessary to go beyond the immediate politics of the palace and into the formative events that have created Prince William in order to completely comprehend the courageous steps that he has taken. The choice that he made was not made on a whim or out of a lack of discernment. It was the result of a lengthy and quiet process of introspection, which was prompted by his mother, whom he considered to be the most crucial influence in his life for him. In spite of the fact that she has been absent for more than a quarter of a century, Princess Diana continues to have a significant influence on William, influencing his behavior, his communication style, and the fundamental principles that he most deeply cherishes. She instilled in him the values of compassion and empathy, as well as the significance of establishing a connection with others on a human level beyond the limitations of royal titles and formality. The lessons that William has learned have been imprinted in his mind, and they serve as a compass for every choice that he makes. As the monarchy navigates this moment of major change, it is clear that William is attempting to honor Diana's legacy by putting those ideals at the core of his vision for the kingdom. This is an indication that William is working to honor Diana's legacy. In the course of his life, he has seen how steadfast tradition may often take precedence over rationality and compassion. Due to the stilted character of the event, he has seen chances for connection that have been wasted, and he has therefore come to understand the growing distance that exists between the royal family and the people that they are supposed to serve. It is said that William saw the time when his father, King Charles, was dealing with his own health issues as a defining moment, a window of opportunity to bring about significant reform before it was too late. Keeping things as they are is not enough for him. He is not pleased with that. William is looking for true development, seeking a monarchy that is reflective of the contemporary world rather than one that clings to ideas that have become obsolete. He recognizes that in order to accomplish this goal, he must take acts that are courageous and resolute. However, it would seem that one of these moves is withdrawing influence from those individuals whom he considers to be in opposition to his vision for the future. According to his opinion, Queen Camilla is included in this group. On the surface, this choice could seem to be harsh, yet William most likely views it as a vital move to protect the prestige of the crown and ensure its continued existence. Camilla herself has said in a public statement that the journey she took to get accepted by the royal family was a lengthy and challenging one. Upon her marriage to Charles in 2005, she was not greeted with warmth, but rather with resistance that was deeply rooted in both public and private circles. In order for public opinion to start shifting, it took her almost 20 years of arduous effort, during which she attended hundreds of engagements and silently demonstrated her devotion. She must have felt as if she had reached the pinnacle of a long and difficult struggle when Charles succeeded to the throne and she stood at his side as queen consort. Therefore, William's public omission was not only a political affront, rather it was a blow that struck him on a very personal level. Over the course of a single harrowing instant, it seemed as if all of her years of perseverance and work had been wiped out. As one person with knowledge of the situation described it, the collapse was more than simply a medical occurrence. It was a collapse of the spirit. There is a new princess on the rise, and an old queen is on the down. During the time when one royal figure is fading away from the public eye, another has stealthily taken their place. It is not via dramatic speeches or power plays that Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has become an increasingly essential player in the unfolding drama. Rather, it is by her steady and soothing presence that she has become such a major figure. The recent upheaval has caused many members of the royal family to seem apprehensive and restless. Nonetheless, the princess has stood out with amazing calm and confidence in the face of the difficulties. Because she has become the optimistic icon of the monarchy's future, all eyes have turned to her. This is not because she is seeking the limelight, rather she has become the focus of attention. Catherine exemplifies a unique combination of contemporary features, steadfastness, and unassuming self-assurance. Her presence is a source of confidence for a public that is tired of palace intrigue, which stands in striking contrast to the turmoil and uncertainty that surrounds other senior royals. This change has not been overlooked by anybody. Catherine undertook a number of engagements in the days that followed the Commonwealth event. This occurred at the time when Queen Camilla's calendar was cleared, and she disappeared from public notice. While attending a significant charity event, she talked with a quiet, kind voice underlining themes of togetherness and hope. She was dressed in a royal blue, which is a meaningful color. Neither did she give any criticism, nor did she make any great promises. Her presence, which was calm and steady, was the one that did the talking. The audience, which was eager to experience genuineness, reacted in a resounding manner. There was an outpouring of love for the princess on social media, with many people referring to her as the calm cornerstone of the royal family. Concealed behind the walls of the palace, this transformation is generating its own unique set of tensions. Despite the fact that she was once a consistent and prominent presence beside King Charles, Queen Camilla has almost completely vanished. It has been speculated that she is merely taking some time to relax and recuperate, but the palace has not provided any official reason for her recent absence. The message, however, is unmistakable. She is no longer a key part in the story. Rather than Charles, William, and Catherine are now occupying the place that she once inhabited after she passed away. The pace that Prince William has taken up is more strenuous than it has ever been before. He is not idle, to say the least. He is boosting his public presence both domestically and internationally by attending major meetings, and he is also speaking out on matters that are of great importance. As a result of his involvement in delicate international matters, he has interacted with prominent figures from throughout the world and made choices that would normally be delegated to the Queen. But he is not the only one. Catherine is a sign of unwavering support and stability despite the fact that she is standing firmly by his side. To put it another way, they are exemplifying what the future of monarchy may look like, not only ceremonial, but rather active, interested, and genuinely engaged with the concerns of the day. In this context, titles and formal ceremonies are not relevant. Rather, the focus is on genuine leadership in action. A de facto transfer of power is now taking place, and it is obvious to everyone who is paying attention to the situation, despite the fact that it has never been publicly stated. The public has taken note of it. The staff at the palace has picked up on it. In addition, even the most devoted supporters of King Charles are unable to refute this fact. Standing at the crossroads, a king. King Charles III, a man who had waited his whole life to wear the throne, is at the heart of this whirlwind. However, he is finding that his authority is being challenged from within his own family. For a very long time, Charles has harbored the desire to maintain the monarchy that he has spent decades preparing to rule. At the time of his appointment, he brought with him a clear vision for a more streamlined and effective organization. The current health problems that he has been experiencing have put a shadow over his reign, which has raised worries about the stability and duration of his rule. Now that his son is becoming more visible, there is a growing amount of suspicion over who is really in charge of the royal ship. William seems to be making significant changes that are not immediately obvious, but are yet difficult to ignore. He is doing this in a quiet but confident manner. He has a vision of a monarchy that is more in sync with the people, one that actively listens to the people, and one that functions with more transparency and accountability responsibilities. Nevertheless, this forward-thinking perspective is accompanied by severe obstacles. There is a possibility that William is accidentally putting his father's aspirations and expectations for the crown on the back burner in his pursuit of honoring the principles that his mother believes in. A discernible feeling of discord has been brought about as a result of this inside the palace. There are certain advisors who have been with the king for a long time who are of the opinion that King Charles ought to exercise his power and put an end to his son's peaceful revolution. Some people believe that it is preferable to enable the transition to take place in a seamless manner because they believe that this is the only way to guarantee the monarchy's continued existence in the 21st century. It is most probable that the truth lies somewhere in the middle. The monarchy is not disintegrating. Rather, it is undergoing a transformation despite the intense strain that it is under. At this time, important choices are being made behind closed doors without any formal announcements or remarks to the media. Although it is taking place in a quiet and methodical manner, the power transfer looks to be inexorable. Despite the fact that King Charles continues to wield the throne and title, he is now required to navigate a palace in which his voice is no longer the only one that is heard. The hushed chats of his advisors and the hidden influence of his son and daughter-in-law are becoming more audible, and these conversations are even beginning to eclipse his own authority at times. The issue that has to be answered is what happens when a king eventually ascends to the throne, but the kingdom that he ultimately gets is not the one that he had anticipated. Charles, who is torn between his need to sustain tradition and the unavoidable requirement to welcome change, observes the unfolding of events in his immediate environment. Even a strong monarch is unable to entirely control the flow of transition, which is something that he knows probably better than anyone else. The conclusion is that the crown is passed spiritually even if it is not in law. When compared to a big ship gradually adjusting its path on a wide ocean, the British monarchy, which is a well-known institution for its careful attitude to change, is comparable to this circumstance. Every action is purposeful and thoughtfully deliberated about, and every turn of the wheel is deliberate. The acts of Prince William represent the beginning of a protracted road to alter this institution that has been around for centuries. This journey brings with it the promise of more openness and a stronger relationship with the people. Having said that, this transition does not come without its share of lost lives. During this period, the picture of Queen Camilla, a lady who endured decades of public disdain to stand alongside her king, collapsing as her future position was publicly erased, will continue to be a moment that is both sad and iconic. It is a reminder that the growth of an institution involves real human implications, and it is a symbol of the terrible cost of change. After the dust has settled, a new landscape is beginning to take shape. It is one in which Prince William, despite the fact that he does not yet have the title of king, is increasingly recognized as the genuine carrier of the future of the monarchy. There has been no official proclamation or a big coronation of the new monarch. However, every single gesture, every single look, and every single phrase that is carefully selected communicates volumes. William has taken the initiative, and it seems that no one is in a position to prevent him from doing so. The public's attention is no longer fixed on the throne itself. Rather, it is directed toward the individuals who are actively influencing the course of its destiny. People get the impression that William is a leader who is composed, stable, and contemporary. Someone who welcomes change without abandoning their tradition. And in Catherine, they see a princess who brings the monarchy closer to the people with her elegance and resolve. Catherine is a pillar of grace and drive. It is possible that the destiny of the House of Windsor will not be determined by proclamations or acts of Parliament, but rather by these modest deeds, quiet gestures, and the leadership of a new generation. There is no ceremony involved in the transfer of a crown. Rather, it is the faith and confidence of a country that is being transferred. It's possible that the covert takeover is over, and a new period has already started, regardless of whether or not it's been formally announced. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for now.